What up, Dokoners? Now that part 1 is effectively complete, we've covered all of the new events, all the new content. We are all eagerly waiting to learn about part 2. Part 2? I definitely said that. I'm gonna keep that in the video. So today we're gonna be discussing the possible dates that part 2 could begin. There's really only 2, but we're gonna talk about when we could possibly be seeing part 2 and when we could be seeing the banner, because the banner might not necessarily play out exactly as it did last year, but all signs point to it doing that, because that's typically how we think. We're sort of traditionalists. If things play out one way, we expect it to play out the same way. But we all know Dokkan likes to change up the formula. Clear in a way, the example right in front of us, this new format for this banner situation. So anything is possible. So with that said, let's jump in and take a look at when the possible dates could be. There's really only 2 in mind. September 8th/9th is when I feel part 2 will start. But I think the real question is going to be, will the part 2 banner start a week later like it did last year, or will they move it up to earlier? So all signs point to no, but we'll talk about why. So here are a couple of clues that I typically use when determining this type of a thing, mainly the top 3. There's a couple of other interesting wrinkles that I do want to point out, and this does not cover all the clues. There are other clues that I simply have chosen not to mention here. If you want to mention it, feel free to do so in the comments. We're just going to be talking about some very interesting things regarding how this all plays out. So the number one, most obvious one, aside from just looking at last year's info, is looking at the part 1 discount timer. Because as you guys know, we are currently in the middle of the super summon discount. That is going to be going on until the I'm on the wrong thing. Okay, we're on the Dokkan one right here. Okay, so the Dokkan Festival banner, it's the same as the Legendary Carnival. Both have the end time of September 13th, 14:16 p.m. Well, that is for me. So that amounts to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. For you, it'll give you a different time. That's not the point. The point is that time, as unusual it may be, that is the end time for discounts across all versions on the entire planet. That is because they're simply just giving some time before the next banners emerge. They are trying to break away from this Dokkan Festival, this dual Dokkan Festival format. So it would be very nonsensical for them to simply jump back in and give us the part 2 banners with their discounts at the same time for like an hour or 2 as the part 1 banners. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. That would give you an hour or so of a window of opportunity to have discounts on both. That would be horrendous. So they're not going to be doing, I mean, that wouldn't be horrendous for us. That would be horrendous for them, but it would also be horrendous for those unfortunate souls who are not there for that like 1 or 2 hour interval where that overlap does take place. So they're not going to do that. Don't even expect that. Don't even think it. It's not going to happen. So with that said, as soon as these discounts go away, at the very least 1 minute after that, it would start. But I think it'll be a little bit later than that. So that's the first sign to as to when the banners could be dropping. The Elder Kai summon dates. Now this is a constant factor that we often like to look at in terms of figuring things out. The only thing is that the start date was a little bit unusual this time around. It was about a day and a half early as opposed to the banners release, which was later than that. But then the end date is what we want to look at here, because the end date makes a lot of sense. September 15th, 6:29 UTC, 1 minute prior to its next release, which then happens close to, if not concurrently, with the new banners. If we look at last year, is that how it played out? Let's take a look. For part 1, we scroll all the way down here and let's look for the Elder Kai ritual summons. I hope I didn't miss it. I don't want to make people dizzy. Elder Kai, yeah. 8:25 until 9:15, 22:29 PST. 1 minute later, it starts off again and it runs out for the rest of the celebration. So 22:30, 9:15 is when the part 2 started. 30 minutes off. Okay. So about 30 minutes away, but that's still good. We want it in that time frame. So with that said, part 1 would obviously be starting in this time frame as well. So another sign pointing to a week after part 2 actually starting when we get the banners. Dragonstone sales, another great indication. You simply just look at when the stone sales end. Since this is effectively another Dokkan Festival that we're jumping into, there needs to be subsequent sales for that Dokkan Festival. If we had the dual Dokkan Festival in part 1, then we'd probably have even more savings in part 1 and we would have less of it in part 2. Because again, part 2 is a snooze fest traditionally, but now they're changing it. So after this, we will be getting new stone sales. So all of these line up. We got stuff ending on the 13th, 14th, 15th. All of this lines up to a potential 15th release time for the new banners. Now, looking at part 2's actual commencement, it's pretty much confirmed it's going to be 8/9. Pretty much, I say. It's not confirmed, but it should be. And there's a couple of very interesting factors here that determine that. First of all, music data. So in one of the most recent data dumps by Proton, shout out to my boy Proton, he is the man in the chair. This little tidbit right here was very interesting. We've got what is basically the background music schedule. And what we're looking at here, that's what BGM stands for, background music. The home menu screen, this song that plays on the home menu screen is going to be going from the 26th of August, which is basically when this started, until the 9th of September. And Proton lives in Europe, so that's obviously why it says 9th of September. But that is a very interesting wrinkle, because right now on Global and JP, we're both getting the, what is it, Taikyo? Tobikiri, yes, no Saikyo, Tai Saikyo, that one. So that song is playing on the home screen, which is basically an homage to the cooler stuff, I think. I don't recall what song that is precisely, but it plays during the home screen, and it plays during this event. So for the home screen music, that is going to be ending on the 9th of September. Now, from what I've been told, I have been told that if it were to simply revert back to the regular background music, then that data file for the original song that plays on the home screen would already be in the data download, but it's not, which means it's not there, which means when this time is up, there could be a possible new song that enters the fray that takes over as the new menu theme for however long. And that would make sense if you consider the fact that the part 2 is more than likely going to be Meta Cooler at this point. We already know the theme is going to be Goku versus Cooler, so it would make absolutely zero sense for it to be anything other than that. If part 1 is going to be Cooler's Revenge, part 2 would obviously have to be Meta Cooler. So subsequently, if the home menu screen could be a song somewhat, dealing or calling back to that fact, this would actually be a great opportunity for them to give us this song right here, or one of the songs from the Cooler movie. This is the one that came to mind for me. Proton's actually, he tweeted it out, so it was actually perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna link this in the pinned comment for you guys to go check out. This is not a confirmation. I'm just telling you that this could be a thing. They could very well just not do that, and they could just completely change it up and give us the original home screen song. It could very well happen, but like I said, they're so unpredictable, you might as well make these crazy predictions once in a while. But this isn't so crazy. This makes a lot of sense. I know some of you guys really want Superhero. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna be dropping all that superhero stuff at the same time as part 2, and no, that's just too much going on. They're not gonna do that to us. It's already gonna be so jam-packed. I think we're gonna see a lot of clapback. I think a lot of players are not going to be happy with this experience overall, because even more so than the fact that the Carnival Summon has been a whole chaos show in and of itself, the fact that we are effectively jumping from one Dokkan Festival celebration onto a second one, when up until now, a lot of players have sort of been accustomed to a certain tradition where they're front-loaded with the Dual Dokkan Fest in part 1, so they've sort of been conditioned to invest heavily in part 1 and to not worry so much about part 2. That could lead to some potential, I don't know, mishaps in part 2. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how people react to all of this. But with all of that said, and the social media campaign also pointing to the September 9th window for their newest installment of the social media campaign to come back, all signs point to the banner, not the banner. Part 2 starting September 8th and 9th, and then the banner dropping a full week later. That also gives them several days in advance to drop the teaser in game. That gives us a couple of days in advance for the data download, and possibly more marketing material. Maybe they do a Meta Cooler wrap. Maybe they do more social media, Twitter stuff where they post hints, even though it's very obvious what it's going to be. It's not like the worldwide celebration was the most well-kept secret in the world leading up to this. We knew for a long time what this was going to be, and all of the social media stuff that they did to tease it it wasn't too cryptic. It was very obvious. So once part 2 drops, once we get the new promotional assets and all that stuff, those will basically be like low-key SSRs for the new units, all the various assets for the upcoming content. So we're gonna know anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But there you have it, folks. That is that's my final answer. I'm sticking to it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments, what do you think the theme for part 2 is going to be? If you don't think it's Meta Cooler. If you don't think it's Meta Cooler, I really want to know why you think it's whatever you think it is. And what do you think about these dates? What do you think about the build-up? What do you think about your stone count? You looking like you're going to have some stones for part 2, maybe? Are you still going to be struggling with part 1? Just talk to me. What are you guys thinking? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content in the future, and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you're going to see more of my stuff. Thanks again. Stay tuned, and always remember to Dokkan responsibly.